Recording live. Oh, boom.
Hey, there we go.
All right, there we go. We're live. We'll give it a minute, just like we did last time. Get everyone up in here, and we'll get this thing going.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna put it in theater mode with the chat room open. Welcome to theater mode with the chat room open. Theater mode.
Kodey, he is running the chat, so if you have any comments or questions or whatever, feel free to drop it in there. And Kodey, you can go ahead and talk about it and whatnot whenever you do get the chance here. Yeah, and we'll get this thing going. This will be on YouTube, so if you can't stay for the whole time, don't even worry about it. It'll be on YouTube, and then we will upload the audio version on Anchor, which will then distribute it to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to our podcast. So there you go there. But this raw reaction here with our live stream with all the videos and clips that we got, pictures, whatever. We're gonna go ahead and post that on YouTube. And Kodey,
I think you're just talking to me.
Huh?
I think you're just talking to me.
That's fine. I'm talking for the YouTube video as well.
Oh, right, duh.
Yeah. Come on, bro. And then also, Kodey, I didn't run this by you, but if possible, I think it'd be kind of cool to pull up some of these huddle highlights as well. Some of these players that really stuck out to us, and see if we could, see if we could find some highlights and more stuff there. Because definitely, I didn't take as many. Well, obviously, this is a one-day thing, so I didn't take as many videos as I possibly could. Because also I want to be talking to kids and parents and coaches. And then it was also roughly 3 hours, like the tryouts, the Ducks tryouts, 2 or 3 hours. Went a little bit over, and then TFG tryouts were like 3 hours a day. Yeah, 3 or 4 hours a day, right? So reality is that we just don't have a bunch of clips. Kodey, I'm sure you could attest to that. So yeah.
Yep.
But you know what? Let's go ahead and hop into this thing, though. Okay. Ducks7v7. This is a new 7v7 team here in the state of Colorado. The founders, or I guess coaches from this 7v7 Ducks team, did kind of break away from Team Full Gorilla, so they were rocking with TFG for the last couple of years. TFG, obviously, another 7v7 team, arguably, well, probably the best team in Colorado here. They've been going since 2018, I want to say, was their inaugural year, and so it's been a nice couple of years here and whatnot. But these guys here at over at the Ducks wanted to try their own thing, and so shout out to Coach Vigil, man. He is the guy that kind of got all this thing going. At least that's how I viewed it as. He's kind of the boss over there with the Ducks. He coaches for Columbine High School, or has coached for Columbine in high school, I believe. And then the rest of these guys are coaches from, I want to say, Arvada, TJ, Thomas Jefferson. I want to say D'Evelyn was another school that sent some coaches. Pomona as well. Kodey, am I missing any?
Did you say Thomas Jefferson?
Yeah. So I think that's it then. So yeah. So there you go. That's kind of where the majority of these coaches come from and whatnot. And you know what? They just wanted to start their own 7v7 team. They're kind of built a lot like TFG, I would say. It's for the kids, right? It's for the kids to get opportunities to compete against the best, to play with the best, which is extremely important. And, it's just another avenue as well. I'd say they're not trying to get after your money or anything like that. It was pretty cheap. It was like $35 as that was the fee beforehand, and then $45 if you walk up. So, Kodey, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there, but it's pretty cheap. And then they did a lot of the same combine stuff at these tryouts like TFG did. They did 40-yard times, shuttles, broad jumps, and then obviously they had comp at the end there. And so that's kind of how this one day of tryouts was split up. So the first half was basically all your combine stuff. Second half, it was competition. We talking 101s, 2v2s, 7s, all of that great stuff. And I believe the teams, or the number of teams originally that they were going to accept were, I want to say 3 or 4. So you have 18U, 15U, and 14U. And they wanted 2 18U teams. Was that right, Kodey?
Okay. I thought it was originally 1, but I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. Well, basically they have at least one 18U team and a 15U team as well. And so they definitely kind of wanted to go younger. That was the vibe, obviously. Coach Vio and us, we talked, for a bit. Well, before the tryouts, and then during the tryouts as well, we talked for a bit, and he was like, yeah man, like this 15U team won a tournament back in Minnesota one time. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, and so I guess that was kind of his vision there, kind of start from, well, not the bottom, but start with a younger group, work your way up, because this younger group can compete up. Obviously if you're 18U, you can't compete down to 15U. That wouldn't make any sense. Let's just be honest with you. So there you go. So a lot of these players were pretty young. I am going to be completely honest with you. I don't think I recognized many juniors out there. I saw a lot of sophomores. Maybe there was a junior in the mix here at these tryouts, but for the most part, I saw a lot of sophomores, a lot of freshmen for sure, a lot of incoming freshmen, so 8th graders. Those are either class of 26 or 25s, and then there are definitely some 7th graders in the mix. They're trying to go young, and I kind of like it. You give some of these younger guys a little bit more opportunity. Not that they, can't play for TFG, but I mean, maybe they didn't hear about it in time because, they are younger athletes and whatnot. Or, I mean, obviously there's some pretty insane athletes on TFG and they just barely ran out of a spot. And so that's kind of the makeup of all these guys at these tryouts, man. And it was over at Columbine High School. Beautiful day, as you can see in this video here. Snow was melted. It was pretty warm. Not much wind. I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for when it comes to, football in Colorado during the winter. But this is as good as it gets. Kodey, is there anything else you want to talk about before we talk about some of the players that stood out? And talk about the combine, comps, and all that as well.
I mean, you took a lot of the introduction for yourself, but I'll forgive it. I will kind of go through this list of just schools that were represented at the Ducks tryouts. It was nice to see, quite the variety here. I think it was a little bit, I mean, it was still kind of, Denver heavy, but less Denver Metro heavy for sure, especially that it was at Columbine. You start to get some of those more mountain schools. I mean, you had representation from Conifer, which is way more west than, most schools for sure. You got representation from Pomona, and, I'll just go through the list here actually, so you had representation from Littleton High School. I don't know if there were any LHS guys at TFG tryouts. You had some Lakewood kids there. Fairview, that's a Boulder school, obviously. Lutheran, that's a team that we covered a whole lot, and, a program that, despite all their graduating seniors, is still going to look to be competitive this next year on that 3A level. Columbine, obviously, seeing as that, V. Hill is the wide receivers coach, I believe, at Columbine High School, if that's correct. And, obviously with it being hosted at Columbine High School, you're going to get Columbine guys there. And we'll talk about that, for sure. But then Mullen, Dakota Ridge, DeEvelyn, Chatfield. So, you got some defending champs heading over there to try out for Ducks7v7, Heritage, Longmont, Greeley Central, and we'll talk about the Starr from Greeley. It says, it was one player from Greeley Central, but it was a pretty strong representation from Greeley Central. You have Cherry Creek, so more defending state champs out here trying out for this Ducks7v7 team. Prairie View High School, there were some guys at the TFG tryouts that were from Prairie View. Like I said, Conifer, they had their quarterback come out. Chaparral, Regis, Pomona, Kennedy High School, kind of sad that we didn't get to see some Cisneros from Kennedy High School, but there are plenty of good quarterbacks
on that day for sure. Simon, I'm going to talk about the combine here because I didn't really get to see the combine for TFG. But
yeah, go for it.
We kind of split up, you know. Simon watched the majority of the 40-yard dashes, so I'll let him take over that. But, you know, I got to see the broad jump, and, you know, it was a lot of kind of instructing kids kind of how it's done. A lot of these guys seemed pretty new and raw to the environment that was this Ducks7v7 combine and tryouts and whatnot. So I really think it was a good experience for a lot of these kids. They also got, you know, official heights and official weights done over there, which is obviously always good for you. And, you know, the technology that they did have for the, you know, combine stuff, like the laser time for 40 and laser time for the shuttle, that all looked really good too. Broad jump, you know, not maybe the most important thing, but there are some pretty athletic kids there, and, you know, for the most part, it was a lot of developing that habit and those tendencies of what a broad jump kind of feels like and what the technique is for it as well. Over at shuttle, that was kind of where Mason was at, and I think that the shuttle is probably the most important drill, in my opinion, as far as, you know, skills that are a bit more applicable to football. You're actually turning and cutting. You don't really run in a straight line all that often in football, and we talked about that with Coach West of Prep Red Zone, which shout out to Prep Red Zone and whatnot. They have an article that you can read, but, you know, talked about how important the combine is, or the shuttle is, and, you know, Mason got to cover that, and, you know, there were a couple of times where he looked over in my direction like, you know, he's turned around and go, I guess the people who are listening to this won't be able to see that, so go watch it on YouTube. But the look that he gave me, you know, with some of those shuttles and whatnot was pretty impressive. And I got to catch the tail end of the 40-yard dashes, watching guys like, you know, Carson here, who's on your screen right now. Let's see, what does he do with this pass? It's this one that his receiver drops. But, you know, we got to see him run a 40-yard dash, as well as Genoa, who we've been covering since he was a freshman as well as Will Adams, who also had a pretty solid 40-yard dash. But Simon, what were, you know, some takeaways that you had from the 40-yard dash since you got to watch all of them?
Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of it was teaching. Like I said, it's a young group. Some of these kids, I mean, I don't know. When are they ever going to do a 40-yard dash or shuttle in PE? I know this because I'm a PE teacher. We don't teach that stuff. I don't teach that stuff. And, you know, I'm not going to go ahead and assume some people don't do that, but that's not something that's a normal thing. I'll teach my football players and whatnot, and my basketball players too. Shout out to my hoopers over at Falcon and whatnot. But that's more because I know that they're going to need that for showcases and all that great stuff. Most schools aren't going to teach that. And so, especially these middle schoolers, like I said, there are a lot of middle schoolers here, you know, which is a good thing because they need to learn. If they're not going to learn now, then what are you going to do? You go wait 2 years? I mean, that's not going to help you. You might as well get it done now, you know, embarrass yourself, laugh about it, because it wasn't like some of these were great. Honestly, a lot of it is about form. And look, football is not about track speed. Who cares? It's about making great cuts. It's about making great decisions, all that great stuff. Obviously, I'm talking about sevens because then I would be saying hitting as well and tackling properly and good defense. Well, good defense you need in regular, I guess, as well. But in sevens, for sure, it's about communication, especially on defense, I would say. And so, really, it was a lot of teaching, which I absolutely love. You know, you got to have some patience for it. Obviously, some coaches have more patience than others, but I absolutely loved it just because, like I said, it gives these kids an opportunity to get it done, try it out the first time, and then they're going to readjust as they go. Because, like I said, I mean, where else are they going to do it unless they pay like $60 to do this somewhere else, right? And so watching the 40s, there was a lot of that, you know, a lot of just watching forums and being like, oh, he came up too early, or he kept his head down a little bit too long and whatnot, or, you know, he's not running all the way through. So it was a lot of that, but you could tell, you know, when it came to some of the older high schoolers, you know, they've done it before. Some of the guys that really stood out in this here, let me pull up my list here, that stood out in the 40 here. I would have to say Esteban, and I hope I have to be saying this right, but Esteban Marquez from Heritage High School. I believe he is either a junior or sophomore here. He ran a pretty smooth 40, not even gold cap. I was pretty impressed. I like that. The Palladino brothers, I got to shout out both of them. Brady and Blake ran it pretty smooth. They're just really like smooth athletes in general. Brady was the first one that I got to see run first. I mean, it's like he's walking on water out there. It looks extremely smooth. He ran a pretty fast 40 as well, and I think he could even get a little bit faster here. I want to say Brady is only an 8th grader. I want to say. Kodey, like I said, feel free to...
He's an 8th grader now. He's
Okay.
heading into his freshman year of high school. It's always weird talking about what year they are because I always try and refer to them as what they will be starting at the next football season.
Yeah.
But literally right now, most of them have to finish whatever grade they're in. So
Yeah, well, there you go. So he will be a freshman next year. And then, obviously, Blake Palladino, we talked about him in Team Full Gorilla Tryouts. Just unfortunately didn't make the cut. He was really, just short of that, just on the outside there. And so to see him here was actually pretty dope because Blake, he's somebody that we've had a lot of interest in for a while. We got to see him in, TFG tryouts, but obviously there was a lot of quarterbacks that we're looking at. And so we got a real good look at Blake here. And honestly, I'm even higher on him after watching him at Ducks tryouts and whatnot because he did an excellent job out here. A lot of quarterbacks really shined here, I would say, that, I think some people are just sleeping on, to be completely honest with you. Plus, also, they're pretty young as well, so opportunities may vary there. But, the Palladino brothers showed out, I would say. I got to see Carson and Genoa both run. Both Greeley guys that, I've been talking to for a while. Genoa, obviously, I've known since he was a 6th grader, and now he's a sophomore. And so, there's a lot of love there. I got a lot of respect for his pops. Coach Juan over there at Greeley, big shout out to my guy. Love that dude. And the entire community as well. And so I've been known about him. I haven't seen him, run a straight 40 since maybe he was in the 6th grade too. So that was cool to see. Carson as well. I think I saw a video of him doing a 40 maybe, or maybe it was just some film, like Wildcat film of him playing quarterback and it's just his scrambling stuff. But it was good to see that again as well as because it has been a while since I've seen them both run. Not that both of them are like Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray. I'm just going to be honest with you. But they're still very good quarterbacks, and like I said, who cares what 40 you run, especially if you're a quarterback. Throw the ball right. So there you go. I'm trying to think about more players, but I think for now that is it. Oh, sorry. And then one more guy here from Lutheran High School. I was kind of impressed by how fast he was able to get going. But I want to say it's Jaden Williams. It's spelled Jadon. He's 6'2", 215 from Lutheran High School. I want to say he's another sophomore or junior here. And he's a bigger dude. He's built, but he was moving. And there are actually a couple Columbine guys who you could tell are linebackers, and they were moving as well. So there you go. But Kodey, what about you? Were there any Combine warriors that stood out to you here at tryouts?
I'm going to speak for Mason Austin here when I talk about, he was very impressed by Will Adams's shuttle run and just how quickly he was able to do that. He has pretty big strides. He's a bigger dude. He must be 6 foot, I want to say at least 6'3", if not 6'4", 6'5" kind of area. And he was pretty quick in and out of those cuts. I was watching broad jump. I don't put a lot of stock into broad jump personally. So, nobody jumped out of the measurement area. Otherwise, I'd be like, oh, wow. So, but, he was pretty solid. And that running back from Littleton, Coach Wes's boy, he ran a pretty solid 40-yard dash at like, I think he was at 205, 200 pounds.
I think he was listed at 215 and whatnot.
He slimmed down a little bit.
High school.
I talked to him with Coach West for a little bit.
Okay. Well, there you go. I mean,
but nonetheless, it's still pretty impressive.
Yeah, he was pushing it. Oh my God, I don't know how I could forget about that. But he's somebody to look out for as well. So, yeah, I mean, there you go.
But if we're done talking about Combine Warriors, I'm down to get into the real thick of it. I mean, it was a kind of intense battle of quarterbacks, man. There is a lot of quarterbacks here at these Duck tryouts.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, including Carson here. Is this his out route? No. I want his out route where he throws it to... Oh, there is Trusty, though. Tyree Trusty's younger brother was out there, so that was kind of cool to talk to him. And, you know, he's more of a D-end, tight end kind of guy. So this could be good for him, you know, if he makes the team to kind of practice a little bit more agility. But, you know, you had Carson out there at quarterback. Simon, he's your boy, so, you know, I'll let you fill in kind of how he was feeling in his backstory, as well as Genoa. But, you know, you also had Wyatt Nichols, I believe, Wyatt Nichols. He was out there. He's a Conifer quarterback. So, you know, he had a pretty solid day, I'd say. Blake Palladino was battling it out. Then you also had Ben Starr out of Cherry Creek, who is kind of competing. Cash Williams, he's that 7th grade quarterback that we've kind of had an eye on. He was at TFG as well. You know, just a lot of guys competing for, I mean, they were realistic, you know, at the end of the tryouts where it's like, look, we had 14 quarterbacks try out. Obviously, we're not going to play 14 quarterbacks. That's just how that works. And, you know, I think that they obviously learned enough from this day, from even like the throws on air to the one-on-ones to the 7-on-7. There's plenty to take away to decide who your rostered quarterbacks were going to be.
Yeah, for sure. Here's that clip of Carson, by the way. I'm going to play that there. Yeah, there were definitely a lot of quarterbacks. I'm not even going to lie. I was keeping my eye on the quarterbacks because I know, I mean, receiver-wise, they could figure it out. There are a couple guys who did stand out from Littleton High School. Again, Ethan Bird, he was out there for sure. Like I said, that Littleton running back. That one tight end, oh my gosh, from Columbine, he was wearing that green Army sweatshirt, Kodey. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Will Adams.
That was him, yeah. He's big. He has a very big catch radius, honestly, and so he could be a beast if developed right, you know. And
Bryson. That's the Littleton running back's name.
There you go. Yeah. So a couple receivers here, you know. But like I said, I was definitely paying attention more to quarterbacks. That's kind of my position group, I guess, to be looking at. And so that's where I was at. Kodey, do you mind if I talk about my Greeley boys here real quick, and then I'll throw it back to you?
Yeah, this is a perfect time.
Okay, say less. Well, then let's get into
Well, drink some water first, maybe. I don't know if your throat will make it through the whole segment.
Well, they didn't hear that. I muted before but let's hop into this. So, basically, I'm going to talk about Carson here and then just go from youngest to, I guess, the oldest here. But Carson Rash, I know we've been kind of like referring to him by his first name a lot, so I'm going to make sure I say his full name so that if scouts are watching or coaches are watching, you know who he is. But Carson Rash, the quarterback, freshman out of University High School in Greeley, Colorado. Obviously, this last year, I mean, they had a quarterback at University in Greg Garza. Be on the lookout for our top 5 quarterbacks list this Friday. That would be episode 107, I believe. He's on the list. Spoiler alert, he's on the list, so you can figure out where he's ranked there. But, you know, Greg Garza, extremely talented, you know, and so Carson really got to watch a lot of Greg out there. Obviously, he has a lot of respect for his teammate, the receivers, the offense that University runs. They usually go 3 or 4 wide here. They try to pass the ball a bit more in two-way, which you don't see all the time. But they had one of the most prolific passing offenses in the state of Colorado this last year. And so that's the stitch Carson was walking into. I remember him messaging me last year about, well, just about advice and stuff. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but advice about quarterback and whatnot. I was like, hey, you should hit up my other guy in Greeley, the other quarterback that, I've obviously been following and whatnot and trying to help out whenever possible. And that's Genoa Trujillo, who is a sophomore quarterback from Greeley Central High School. He's a name that I think if you are from the northern Colorado area, like you played for Fort Morgan, Eden, Greeley, obviously, like Windsor, that kind of area, you know who Genoa Trujillo is. If you had a kid on a middle school team from a couple of years ago, obviously he was the quarterback of those great Heath Panthers squads that never lost a game, that basically went defeated 3 straight years, won championships 3 straight years over Fort Morgan. I want to say that was the first championship back in 6th grade. When he was in 6th grade, and then Windsor when he was in 8th grade. I forgot which team was the 7th grade one, but obviously all teams that are pretty good. Fort Morgan literally just won state this last year. Windsor is always good, so I don't really need to talk about that anymore. And so you know who he is, but obviously he is playing for Greeley Central. First started as a freshman. It was a COVID year, so that's kind of a tough stitch. And then obviously, they basically played playoff teams. Like there were 4 or 5 games that COVID year. It was difficult. The only team that wasn't a playoff team was Skyline, even though they had like the top offense in Colorado, or one of the top offenses in Colorado, which is insane to me still, how they didn't make the playoffs, but it is what it is there. And so both of these guys are definitely sleepers, I would say. Let me talk a little bit more about how these tryouts went down. So they both would have qualified for the 18U team, obviously, and then Carson would have qualified for the 15U team. Genoa, I believe, is at least 16. I know that for sure. And so Carson was with kind of the older group, and then they kind of moved him with the younger group, and it was pretty obvious because Carson's like 6'4", 6'5", as well as a freshman. So, it did look a little out of place. I mean, if you just want to go by the eye test there. But, he's a good kid about it. He didn't complain at all. He was like, yes, coach. He got in there. He did everything he could to learn this offense, really study those defenses. Carson and I have really talked about pre-snap reads, man. And I got to praise Carson Rash here. He is an extremely intelligent football player. Kodey, I don't know if you were like near him while he was like talking to his teammates, defenders, coaches and whatnot, but he knows what he's talking about in those huddles. Do you want to talk a little bit about that real quick? Because he was, I was super proud of him. I was like, oh, there you go. Like pre-snap reads, like that's my guy out there. And so Kodey, do you want to talk about that real quick? Because it's down to next level and he's only a freshman right now.
Yeah, no, I was very impressed with Carson Rash. And, just first off, what a good kid. He's a yes coach kind of guy. And so from a coaching perspective, I'd love to have him. I know that he's going to do whatever you ask of him. He's very receptive to learning. Like you said, he's bright. I did overhear him, kind of explaining what he was looking at in the defense to some of the receivers on, if they'd get the ball or not, and kind of the placement. You could kind of tell, I think, that he was a little bit ahead of the age group that he was paired with for the most part. I mean, obviously this throw here to James, I don't know if it's pronounced Bossinger or Bossinger, but, or Bassinger, I guess, Bassinger. Okay, so yeah, Bassinger, he's another guy who showed up. Okay, 2 18U teams and 1 15U. Sweet, thank you, Wolf 30 pack. But, Carson here, he had an impressive day, and I think that you could tell that, oh, hey, coach, welcome to the stream. Man, throwing me off, but I appreciate you stopping by, obviously. Huge shout out to Coach V Hill for having us out there and, for starting this program. Really great guy. Really excited to see where this program goes. But transitioning back to Carson here, I think that he has a lot of upside for not only this Ducks team, but just that university team or whoever decides to start him at quarterback. He's a very smart kid who is getting people in position, and here's another thing. Shout out to the coach who is jumping in. You can see him right over here in the green cleats. He was jumping in from time to time because, a lot of kids were just a lot of these younger kids, they're less inclined to just kind of jump into the rotation. They maybe don't have the confidence or the go-getter, but any players who go to these 7-on-7s, get your reps or take other people's if they're not willing to grab them. It even got to a point where I was like, hey, someone jump in. I was saying that because, it made me want to jump in a little bit. But, Carson, he jumped in and he took a snap, maybe two, but at least one snap that I saw at receiver because, no one else was jumping in, and he didn't need to be caught up because he was paying attention even when it wasn't his turn, which is a huge lesson that I think any player can take from at any level, whether it's, 7-on-7 at Ducks or whether it's on your varsity squad, JV squad, freshman squad. You should know what everyone is doing on every play. You should be paying attention even when you're not in. There's a little bit of a Coach Kodey moment for you. But anyways, Carson had a phenomenal tryout, and, he made the team. I'll go through the Ducks Twitter here in a second through their retweets and stuff about, some of the guys who made the team. But Genoa, he's another guy who had a phenomenal day. And, Simon talked about his dominance for years in the Greeley area. But, he showed great timing and, some solid velocity as well here at the Ducks tryouts. Let's see what happens on this throw. Oh, what a dot. But specifically, the Genoa pass that I enjoyed probably the most that we unfortunately didn't catch on film, it was a red zone play, because at the end of the day, they did do red zone 10-yard line heading in. And there's this, it was about a person width window, as wide as me. And you have a linebacker who's playing that inside zone, and you have a cornerback. And, right as the wide receiver before the wide receiver turns, Genoa just shows excellent anticipation, knowledge of the routes, and great velocity as he just zips it in there for, a touchdown. And I think that, between Genoa and some of these other quarterbacks that you have a lot to be excited about for Ducks7v7. Simon, you mind if I kind of transition to some of the non-Northern Colorado guys? Hey, what's up, Genoa? You came in and commented right as we was talking about you.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. Yeah, no, for sure. Hey, just so Carson, just to wrap this up, was super on top of it, very detail-oriented. He played receiver at least 5 or 6 times, Kodey, from what I could see. Didn't get any targets, which is wild because he's like the tallest guy out there. But he was running routes and whatnot, which is good. Your quarterback should know all your routes, so there you go. And then Genoa, my boy, he was dealing, I didn't see him miss many throws. There was one deep ball, but that was definitely PI, which he can't do anything about. But other than that, he was definitely dealing. He was going blow for blow with a couple other quarterbacks that we'll talk about later, because there was definitely a good, I want to say 20 or 30 minute stretch where some of these 18U quarterbacks were just dueling it out here, and it was kind of wild. But go ahead, Kodey, talk about some of the other guys that stood out here.
First off, thank you, Coach. And this is a live announcement right now. For the final roster, it looks like there is 22 class of 23 guys, 23 class of 24 guys for the two 18U teams. And then for the 15U, you had 10 class of 25, which is, guys who are freshmen right now in high school, and 11 class of 26 guys, so incoming freshmen or current 8th graders, talking about that class of kind of stuff. So thank you, Coach, for chipping that in there. And, for this final roster, some of the class of 23 and 24 guys shined, but talking about a class of 24 guy that just performed so well, we briefly mentioned him a little bit earlier in this episode, was Blake Palladino. He's a guy who is going to light it up for this Ducks team. I mean, you could just see his arm power was it was nice to be able to watch Blake in a more, kind of isolated setting, if one might be able to say that, because, he was just able to show excellent poise and ball placement, and, it was nice to be able to kind of focus and watch him a little bit more. And, I think that he has a winning attitude too, and he has an experienced varsity starting attitude, much like Genoa does as well. But these varsity starters, they're going to be guys who need to be leaders on the field, and Blake Palladino is somebody who I definitely think can do that for this Ducks team. Because, I mean, you look at other 7v7 teams, and they have, like, their face guy, who's the face of this program. I definitely think that Blake Palladino can be that for, this Ducks team. Obviously, Simon mentioned him earlier as having a solid 40. But, I mean, his ability to throw on the run, his ability to stretch the field is going to be integral for, this Ducks team come competition time within the state, or even, in those kind of regional tournaments or wherever they decide to travel and play. I also want to shout out, he's a junior now, but or actually, no, he will be a junior this upcoming football season. But that's Conifer's Wyatt Nichols. I didn't see a lot of guys that were kind of in the mountains, more or less, for those TFG tryouts as much. But, Wyatt Nichols, he came out here, and he impressed, honestly. He has pretty solid mechanics, and I liked his ball placement for a lot of the day, and he just looked pretty comfortable there. And I think that for some kids, too, transitioning from one kind of tryout to another, this outdoor with the front range, those mountains right there, and being right next to C470 basically, or a little bit off of C470 obviously, going down Bulls and whatnot towards Columbine High School, it felt like, a bit more of a relaxed environment. It wasn't everybody knew everybody kind of thing, or, there were already like super duper established guys. I mean, you did have big names there nonetheless. Oh, there's Wyatt right there, actually. Oh, I caught that. Perfect video by me. I'm giving myself some credit. But this is Wyatt Nichols right here, and you can just see that he looks really relaxed, and I think that made a huge difference for some players at this tryout versus other tryouts that we've seen. It's just the environment was a lot more, I'd say, kind of laid back, but in the good, welcoming, comforting kind of way. Is this Blake here?
Palladino's built different. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was literally right behind this dude, and just the velocity he gets on some of these throws. Like, I don't know. I'm not even going to cap. I wasn't paying too much attention to his timing, which is something I always pay attention to, or usually not always, usually pay attention to. But, like, just the way he zips it is special. There's this one play as well where I want to say the receiver's running a post. Corner played it pretty well, but Palladino just kind of throws a strike down the middle into the end zone, and it was a perfect throw.
Exactly
great catch.
Which one you're talking about.
Oh yeah, if I could find it, I'll point it out again. But I mean, look, a lot of great quarterbacks. I mean, Palladino, Genoa, like all these guys just going at it. Like, it was kind of dope. Not gonna lie, I think a lot of these quarterbacks as well, I would say at least Blake and Genoa are in very similar, I'm just going to be real, situations in high school. Their line is a little, and their receivers are, they're all right and whatnot. And so it was really good just kind of seeing them in a situation that wasn't that. And, just being out here as well, because they don't know these receivers. Like, I think that's important to keep in mind at TFG. Like, obviously, you got dudes who tried out last year. You got dudes who already made the team. And they know who these receivers are. And if they don't, then they make them look good. Everyone could throw to an Ishmael Cece, to an Ish. Everyone could throw to a Noah Triplet who has like 4.4 speed. DeAndre Horn as well from Rock Canyon. But it's something different to start working with these younger guys. And I think something I really enjoyed, which you kind of mentioned, Kodey, is just seeing these kids bond with each other and build that relationship. Because I would agree, like, the environment, obviously they're competing, they're going at it, but they're trying to help each other out. These are all young football players. Like I said, this is the future of Colorado football here. And I think, just having that family mentality and be like, hey, little bro, I got you. Let's do this thing. If we screw up, then we both screw up. Then I mean, you can't go wrong with it, you know. And I gotta give a lot of credit to the coaching staff out there because, you know, to get those kind of vibes, it starts with the coaching staff. You know, it starts with your pillars in the program, and so that's extremely important. And you know, it was very fun seeing these quarterbacks go at it and then talk to each other as well. I saw Palladino and Genoa talking at times, and I mean all the quarterbacks as well. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going, Kodey. Keep going.
No. You're good. You're good. And you know, another guy who made it, just checking out that you know, that Twitter was Jack. Is it Seidel? Or is it Seidel? Out of Dakota Ridge. Simon, do you know?
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay. Well, he was a freshman.
Go for it.
QB, and I think I know. I think he was in a white hoodie, I believe. So I got to see some of his passes, but he's another QB who made it, which is this is Ben Starr here that you're watching right now. And he had some impressive throws throughout the day. I believe he said he was a Cherry Creek guy. And there's Genoa once again showing off that arm. Can you go back one more, Simon? Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm seeing the stream a little late, but Ben Starr, you know, he's another guy who I'm not sure if he necessarily made the team, but he showed some flashes for sure. And I'm not entirely positive on what, you know, his future is, you know, knowing what we know about incoming Cherry Creek quarterbacks and whatnot, but you know, he's a guy who I think could start on the varsity level for a decent number of programs here in Colorado. So, you know, somebody else to shout out there. But you know, we watched a lot of quarterbacks, but there were impressive wide receivers and running backs as well. You know, obviously, you know, Bryson, he was a guy, he's that Littleton High School running back. Shout out to Coach West once again. But, you know, he was a guy who obviously looks solid in the 40-yard dash like Simon and I talked about. But he's a pretty good route runner for being, you know, 200 pounds and 5'11". Like, he can move pretty well. He seems to show good hands in the backfield. He caught, you know, some go routes in, like, the one-on-one kind of settings. And, oh, this is a great play right here. What a catch. So Bryson is somebody who impressed. You know, obviously you had Esteban, who, while he impressed in the 40-yard dash, and he just impressed with his speed all around, because even though he is how do I want to say this? His speed translates to the game of football. You know, there's a lot of guys who are fast, but maybe they don't use it in and out of their routes, or they don't use it on those go routes. Oh, there's Will Adams right there, getting off the press really easy. Look at this. Yeah! Later
little
loser.
throw from Rowan Reisner as well, from Fairview.
Yeah. That I'll let you kind of talk about him a little bit as well. But, you know, Esteban, he had himself a very solid showing at the Ducks tryouts, and, you know, something to maybe kind of be slightly hopeful for there at Heritage. You know, they don't get, they're kind of a up and down program, but, you know, if you get this kid Esteban the ball, like the Ducks are probably going to do, then you might see some progress here. Simon, you want to talk about Rowan's performance at the Ducks tryouts before we keep talking about some wide receivers? Because, you know, the wide receivers and running backs I could talk about for a little bit, but really the defense is what very much impressed me at these Ducks tryouts. So I want to make sure we get to that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'll talk about Rowan real quick. So he's the backup over at Fairview High School. Obviously, they have Beckham Kritza there. But Rowan Risner has been, and I hope I'm saying your name right, man, because I've been following you for a minute here. He's somebody that I've known about since about spring of last year. You know, I thought maybe he would be able to, well, I felt like he would be able to compete for that starting job over at Fairview and whatnot. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I know he's still been working. You know, he had a very good JV year, is what I was told as well. You know, had some good passes. And in my opinion, I think Rowan is a starting quarterback for a team somewhere. Obviously, he did make this Ducks team. So, boom, there you go. But I think he's a very smooth passer. You know, reminds me a little bit of Liam O'Brien from a couple, well, Yeah, well, I could say a couple years ago, like last year, for Fairview High School, build-wise and mechanics-wise. And so, I think he's somebody that was really underrated. And coming into these tryouts, man, he really wanted to show out. He went to Team Full Gorilla tryouts. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of great quarterbacks there. Unfortunately, didn't make it. Came here, he wanted to compete. That's just who he is. And so he came out here and he threw some nice balls, a couple really nice deep balls especially, really trying to test that secondary there, which I absolutely love, I know he could hit the short and intermediate, but I think those deep passes were something of beauty, honestly, including that one to Will Adams there. So yeah. But that's Roland Risner. Just wanted to give him a quick shout out. I think he's a real smooth passer. I look forward to seeing him develop with this Ducks 7-on-7 team. Like all of these quarterbacks as well. But I really want to see, how that turns out there. That's something that I'm very interested in. But yeah, that's Rowan though.
Yes, sir. And obviously that throw to Will Adams. Will Adams was somebody who we talked about having impressive shuttle and, a solid 40. He just has monster strides and he just has a big frame and he knows how to use it very well. And I'm not positive if he made the cut, but he'd be a great athlete. Speaking of great athletes, right here, James Bassinger. Gosh, I'm butchering it every time. But anyways, James, he also was electric on the defensive side of the ball. He's somebody who can succeed on either side of the ball. I think that he's a solid receiver, but he just is so much more advanced. This receiver has no idea how to get off of him. And then at safety, he showed solid anticipation, very solid technique. Coach West, out there at a prep red zone, he was losing his mind. He's a safeties guy. And, I think Coach West was starting to envision a reality where he gets to coach up James for sure. Because, I could hear him like, just do this little thing. But also he does all these little things very right and, correct. And it's very good to see. So, James, he was phenomenal at these Ducks tryouts, and somebody to keep an eye on for sure. Let's see here. Trying to think of some other wide receivers and stuff. A lot of these are defensive guys.
Real quick? Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay, yeah.
Basinger.
Okay. So James here, I mean, he's a Columbine kid, right? And so Columbine always has good defensive players. That's just their brand of football. And he really impressed. You could tell he's a safety because there are definitely some things as a cornerback that he could continue to work on. He's not as smooth there. There are, as me and Coach West watched on, there are definitely some things that he could work on in man-to-man, but don't get it twisted. When it comes to playing safety, though, he's extremely smart. When it comes to passing off receivers and stuff, he was working with the 15U guys while Carson Rash was, and so he definitely obviously stood out there. He's just a great athlete with really good ball skills, and so I think he's somebody to definitely look out for, man. I think at safety, he plays it smoothly. I don't know what more you could ask. Well, I know what more you could ask from him. You work on your man-to-man, but other than that, as a zone type of player, as a safety, we watched him pass on receivers and make the right decision over and over and over again. And that's really good. Building 7-on-7 teams, obviously, you need a quarterback because you can't run the ball. And then after that, it helps to have some good DBs. And I think James here, he really is going to be a cornerstone of this Ducks team moving forward just because of how talented and how smart he is as well. It's not easy to do what he was doing out there at safety. And he's a pretty young guy. He's is he a 2023 guy, Kodey, or is it 2024?
No, he's 25.
Class 25. So he's a freshman right now, which is absolutely
he could play on
wild.
The 18U squad from what I saw.
Oh, he definitely could. I kind of wished I got to see him play on the 18U squad, but for now, like I said, he's going to be a cornerstone for this team, a possible 3 or 4 year starter, which you don't find every day. I know Team Full Gorilla, they're young, so there's not going to be many. I know Anthony Costanzo, he was one of their 3 or 4 year starters, plus maybe. And that doesn't come every day, and Costanzo also happens to play safety as well. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't think they're the same kind of player exactly, but they have talent, and they're going to be playing for this 7-on-7 team and be a big part of it for a while now. So that's definitely a guy you got to look out for. Not much is going to get by him, and he's only a freshman, like you said, Kodey. He's going to get better pretty much every year, every practice. So there you go. But keep going on with more skill players, Kodey, as I click through this clip, I guess.
Yeah, so another guy, obviously, the 40-yard dash winner, Josh Snyder, fastest guy there. He is a Columbine guy, a class of 24 guy, so he's currently a sophomore going into his junior season. And looking through, just taking a quick peek at his stats, as a sophomore, he did contribute to this Columbine team just a little bit here with 267 yards and 2 scores, averaging over 7 yards per carry. That's pretty impressive numbers as a sophomore, and that's a crowded backfield to get snaps in. You had our offensive playmaker of the year on the 5A level in Seth Cromwell in that backfield, and you also have Tyree Trustee in that backfield, making plays and breaking off a lot of big runs. So for Josh to get in there and make some plays and seeing his speed is a testament to his skill level on that Columbine team in pads, and his speed should be an asset for this. 2 kick returns for touchdowns too. Sheesh. And that speed is going to translate well, I think, as well to this Ducks team. So you have that guy, obviously. Not to mention, hold up, looking at his profile. First off, okay, I kind of got scrambled here. Josh Schneider, a 4.5 GPA guy, and not to mention a lot of these guys who got accepted on this Ducks squad have very solid GPAs. You have, let's see, I saw 3.0 for Wyatt Nichols. That's a solid GPA, solid enough, I should say. 3.8 for James Basinger as well. You have there is another 4.0 guy. Yeah, Christian McCombs here from Pomona High School. So lots of good scholars here on this Ducks team. And I think that, kind of that focus and getting these guys who, are doing well in the classroom, I think that they'll be able to prioritize and, focus on what they need to learn for this Ducks team as well. So, that's something to be excited about. Let's see. Simon, do you have any other wide receivers or running backs to specifically talk about? I mean, you kind of talked about Jaden Williams, that tight end out of Lutheran, who, by the way, is a 3.8 guy as well. So,
yeah.
But,
I mean, not too much. I didn't get to see too much of him play. I know he plays tight end and linebacker as well. So there you go. I'm also looking through some of these little end zone clips for the first time as well. And there are some good plays defensively and offensively. I mean, when you're in the end zone, when you're in the red zone, either one, you gotta be on top of it. And there are really good defensive and offensive plays here that were happening.
That play.
So.
Right there. Could you replay that last clip? I think that
We were on a delay.
You jumped all over. Well, anyways, there is this one cornerback who made a pretty heads-up play in the red zone part of the drill named Robert Hatchett. I'm not sure what high school he goes to, but he showed some pretty solid athleticism and anticipation. Right there, that pass breakup was Peyton Wainwright, who is somebody who's on our radar. He's a linebacker at Columbine High School. And, you could tell just these Columbine linebackers, they came to play. And, it makes me, okay, Hatchett's a Lakewood sophomore. Thank you, Coach. I thought I saw some orange on his shirt, but I wasn't sure if I should commit to that guess. But, Hatchett, he was a solid athlete out there. And these Columbine linebackers, like I said, you have Peyton Wainwright. Chris Horning was probably the most impressive player I saw. He's a linebacker who, during the one-on-one drills, was going toe-to-toe with these fast wide receivers, shoving them off of their routes, and just making incredible plays Really, he's somebody who I'm very excited to see on this Ducks team, as well as in the regular season for Columbine. This kind of acted as a little bit of a Columbine high school preview too, which got me excited to pay a lot of attention to their defense. Lots of great linebackers there and people who played really disciplined defense, which, in a 7-on-7 environment is so important. Just how the game is kind of set up and, playing defense, it's hard. It's really hard to play defense. You have to be super disciplined. You have to be super patient, and you have to pay a lot of close attention to details. It's not just like on offense where you could be a really fast wide receiver, and depending on the play, if you just throw out that left foot and keep running, then you're going to burn the cornerback because they bite too hard. There's more opportunities to make mistakes on defense, in my opinion, and end up looking like that Chiefs cornerback against Gabriel Davis, in the final minute of that game on Sunday. But, I don't think that that's really going to happen on this Ducks team. I think that there's a lot of disciplined, smart football players on the defensive side. So, just shouting out Chris, Peyton, Robert, all of those guys. I think that that's one thing that's going to catch a lot of 7v7 teams by surprise when they roll up and play these Ducks for the first time, is that the Ducks are going to have a defense that can go toe-to-toe with some of the best in the state.
I actually will have to agree with that. I mean, look, you look at the schools that are out here coaching and whatnot. I mean, how could you not have good defense with some of the coaches who are out here, man? I think they'll get them right. Even watching some of these linebackers in the red zone here, like, they're playing pretty stiff, like, pass coverage. These guys are, like, built. They're not, like, safety hybrid types or cornerbacks or whatever move to play linebacker. They're legitimate inside linebacker builds, who are out here moving really well and honestly playing really physical, just throughout. I'm going to play this clip here. But they're just really physical. They have real good hips. And I think if you get into a red zone situation, if this Ducks team gets coached up right, they could put a lot of teams into a chokehold. And that's not good because basically that means you have to rely on big splash plays to beat them. And, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But defensively, I think they're going to get him right. It's rare that you get linebackers that are so, like, oh, my God. They're just so there,
So solid in pass coverage.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, every defensive guy is like, oh, give me a good run-stopping linebacker who could pass rush. That's great. But, in today's game, you got to be able to contest balls. You got to be able to get in somebody's face without getting a penalty thrown on you too. You got to play it smart. And so play with the right type of physicality. And I think, I don't know, man, this Ducks defense could be something special once they start communicating and whatnot. And, get working with each other as well. I know on this play, somebody else should have taken that assignment there. But I mean, I don't know. I think this defense is going to be something. They got talent over there for sure. So it's really interesting seeing the vibes out here. And, it was great just seeing all these players come out, seeing a lot of young players come out and really, like, learn something, and get out there. Like, I would say probably a good amount of these kids have not been in a 7-on-7 type of situation before. They're more used to, I'm gonna go play in the fall, maybe throw in some drills in the off season and whatnot, but other than that, they're not used to the 7-on-7 life. And look, I'm just gonna be real. In Texas, we be running sevens in middle school and elementary school. For our own schools, we don't have really club. I mean, we had club kind of coming up, but it was more like, if you need the offers, then you go do that. Or if you really want to, get some real cool clips and travel and all that, then you go do that. Other than that, most people, sevens is a way of life in Texas. You got football in the fall, and then you got sevens in the spring /winter/summer, which is really long. But that's just something that I think Colorado as a state, they gotta get used to, man. If you're not on a sevens team, try to get on one. Don't go bankrupt getting on one. Just keep that in mind. Don't go bankrupt getting on one. But if you could get that experience, even if you could just get to tryouts, screw it, go compete. If you embarrass yourself, fine, learn from it, it's okay to be embarrassed, because just know if that play was to ever happen again, or that situation was to ever come up, I mean, you could stop that play from happening. You could either have it now during sevens, or you could be embarrassed during the football season in the fall, and you don't want that to
lights.
happen. Yeah, you don't want that to happen because there's a lot more cameras and whatnot out there as well. So, once again, just big shout out to Coach Vigil. This whole Ducks organization, I'm really happy for them. I know they got a good thing going here. I'm not even go cap. Probably my biggest concern was like, okay, what kind of quarterbacks are we going to have here? What kind of quarterbacks are going to come out here and are going to help lead this offense and build this offense? Because I always kind of knew defensively, you'll be fine. If you have a couple rocky games, who cares? Oh, well. I believe in the coaching staff to figure that out. And obviously, I believe in them to figure out the offense as well. But having a quarterback is key when it comes to sevens. Like, you need one. Absolutely. So, yeah.
When we saw that, Greeley Central was one of the teams that was going to be represented, there is kind of, we were like, who else could it be other than Genoa? Obviously,
yes.
So there was some expectation to see him there, and it was definitely a surprise to see Palladino there, and I'm very, very excited for what he's planning to do with this Ducks team. Oh, this is so what I was talking about. I did get it on video. Look at this. Oh my God, they both closed in on it, but he's too fast. He knew where the ball was going to go before they did, and that's what a good quarterback does. Oh my. Ooh, you could see like flames coming off of that ball.
Just the snap of that arm as it comes forward. Oh my God! Great footwork too, Genoa. There you go.
Look at that pause. Great pause there,
yep.
Coach V. With the mountains in the background.
I know.
Genoa's gonna be like, Genoa, you better take a screenshot now so that can be your profile picture. That's clean as heck. But but anyways, Simon, do we want to go more in depth on any players necessarily right now, or do you want me to kind of go through this Twitter and read out some guys who made the team and whatnot?
We'll save the film breakdowns for later. There's a lot of, look, there's just a lot of players that we're going to want to do film breakdowns on moving forward. Obviously, we are going to prioritize seniors and whatnot since signing day is coming up, and then it's going to pass, and so we're going to still do seniors. And so we'll have time to do that. We'll probably do a stream. Maybe we do a stream next week. Look at some of these quarterbacks and just break down film, react to some of their in-season film as well, because I know at this point that most of their film from this last season should be updated, and if it's not, it's literally January 25th. What are you doing? Your season ended in November or December. You had a month. Some of y'all had 3 months.
It's almost signing day.
Come on, yeah. It should be out here, so we'll be doing some film breakdowns live, so that we aren't capping whenever we do our senior rankings and whatever other film breakdowns we do. But go ahead, talk about the guys that got accepted and whatnot. Go through that Twitter, and then we'll leave the film breakdowns for another day, another stream.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds good to me. And obviously, I'm a huge fan of Duck's Twitter. I didn't realize, how are we not even following that I have no, because I was seeing all the tweets. But anyways,
I'm following.
Well, now we
them.
are.
Okay, well there we go.
I think Instagram, I might have followed it on my personal and not with the Playmaker. The woes of being a social media.
We got
of having multiple social media accounts.
That's what matters.
But it's here now, so that's the important thing. No, Coach, don't do us like that. But just looking through this Twitter. And, there is a reaction to Jaden Williams. I'm assuming if they're reacting, big man can ball, remember the name. That's probably a guy who probably made the thing if I don't read it out. Marquez went off today. That's Esteban. We talked about him. Most of these guys are going to be guys that we talked about for at least a little bit. Retweeted James. James was being thankful for the tryouts and whatnot. But talking about retweets here, Ethan Bird, that tight end / defensive end out of Littleton High School, We talked to Coach West a little bit. This guy he's big. He's 6'3", 180 pounds. He moves pretty well for his size as well. He was an all-league defensive end, and he moves pretty well. Something that Coach West did fill me in on that I thought was hilarious, that he somehow labeled himself with, is that he can't catch anything over 12 yards. But he's obviously going to change that. And that mentality, don't label yourself, don't short sell yourself here, Ethan. But he's a Ducks guy, and he made the team. Elijah Abeta, I believe is how you say that. He's a Prairie View guy, 6 foot 370 pounds, class of 24. That's I've seen worse frames for sure. So he's a skill position kind of guy. Michael Gartman is somebody who made the team. Pomona High School cornerback / wide receiver, 5'11", 143 pounds. So we might have even seen this guy in that playoff game against Castleview, probably. And
Yes.
that if he was a member of that secondary did a pretty good job that game to suppress a D1 commit to very little yardage. But anyways, James, he made the team. Retweeted his announcement. Bryson, that tailback out of Littleton High School. It's so good to see this kind of representation from Littleton, because they're a school who gets dealt a pretty tough hand a lot of the time, not only in size of school and prioritizing on football program. They've had a lot of turnover there. Really, they've gone through multiple coaches and coordinators and stuff, and even since I was in high school, I think that they had 2 or 3 coaches in the 4 years that I went to Arapahoe. A lot of turnover. Even in my middle school, I knew about some coaches that kind of went in and out of that door. So it's nice to see some of these Littleton High School kids get some representation. But hey, Bird, Bryson, get those grades up. Christian McCombs, that's another guy who made the team. 4.0 GPA. Be a little bit more like Christian in that regard. Class of 23, Pomona guy. You got Peyton Wayne. There is no way Peyton Wainwright wasn't going to make this team. I mean, he's a solid football player, in pads, and it translates well in the pass game. So, I'm not surprised by that. Oh, look at that angle, on that catch. Nice little dump off there. Wyatt Nichols out of Conifer. He makes the team. I'd be excited to, somebody who I'm kind of surprised didn't make it out. I don't know if they work with somebody else, is like Tommy Poloski. Get some evergreen guys out there. That's a football school in the mountains, them in Conifer. So, I'd love to see some of those guys a little bit more in the future. I said Jack, that Dakota Ridge freshman quarterback. And the last one that I could see here is Nicholas Hudson. He's another Conifer guy, 5'11", 187 pounds. Halfback and linebacker. We probably have some halfback film of him catching a ball. And by the way, shout out to Nicholas Hudson, a 4.1 GPA kind of guy. And oh wait, it keeps going. I just don't know how to scroll Twitter. But anyways, Luis Madera, he's a class of 26 guy, 5'11", 155 pounds. So on that 15U team probably. Rowan made the team, that Fairview quarterback. 4.2 GPA, by the way. Shout out to all these 4.0 plus guys. Lord knows that I didn't have over a 4.0 when I graduated high school. So, but, all of that being said, like Simon said, we're going to do film breakdowns of these guys and, their in-person film. And we're so excited. We know that we're probably a little bit away from it, but we are so excited to see these 7-on-7 teams in Colorado compete against each other. And, we're just really honored to be hosted by, the likes of Team Full Gorilla as well as Ducks for their tryouts. It's special being a part of, the inaugural, the debut of a 7v7 program, especially one that I think is going to be very good and is going to stick around. And so I'm just really excited about that. I talked to Simon about this. I talked to Coach Vigil about this. For day one of a program, this is very promising. I think things ran really smooth. The vibes were immaculate. And, there were some ballers out there for sure, both on the defensive and offensive side. Yeah, this catch, just get off me, is what that wide receiver said. But, you know, for day one of a program, it's all up from here. You know, once they got their roster sorted, they're going to start getting practices. Man, once the chemistry is there for these guys, whew, be on the lookout for this Ducks 7v7 squad.
I believe they are hoping to play Team Full Gorilla.
Hey, Simon.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. I am muted.
Simon,
another
I can't.
thing. Yeah, I got
Okay,
you,
there
Cody.
you are.
But no, I believe that they're going to be ready to, or they're wanting to play Team Full Gorilla here this season. So we will for sure be there whenever they get that time and place figured out. So we'll see that. They want to travel. We'll see how that goes. I mean, obviously, I can't imagine managing a 7-on-7 team. I also can't imagine like cutting some players from a 7-on-7 team, because personally I would want to bring everyone, which is why I'm just going to evaluate film and talk about what kids could do better so that they don't get cut. And so that's kind of where I'm at there. And we'll cover more 7-on-7 as the year goes on. You know, we'll make posts and stuff as their kids, like, you know, do really great things on and off the field. I know TFG, they will be traveling to Phoenix here in a couple weeks here. Man, if we weren't broke, well, okay, we're not broke. But if we had a little bit
Think
more
for
money,
yourself.
if we had a little bit more money, we could make that trip, you know. But we aren't. So there you go.
We're gonna crash at Coach Klein's family's house.
Yeah, well, let's not throw his name out there too much. but yeah. No, we're gonna cover them, you know. So follow us on our social media at Playmakers Corner. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok as well. Obviously Twitch. I mean, we're gonna be live streaming probably more so as the weeks go on. We'll see how kind of that goes, because I personally like I like not editing, so that's great, but I just like going at it, you know, and looking at film, having raw reactions and stuff like that. Kodey, I know you do as well, so there you go. So give us a follow there. Also our YouTube channel, if you miss a stream or if you miss something and you want to clip it, go ahead and go to our YouTube channel. It should be uploaded there. It's 1080p, I want to say. That's the best we got, and so that's what we're gonna work with, you know. And so that'll be uploaded there as well. And then I want to shout out once again the Ducks and Team Full Gorilla on social media. I mean, Team Full Gorilla, that's all their social medias: Instagram, Twitter. Ducks7v7, I want to say. Let me just make sure. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Ducks7v7 is their exact Twitter handle. Or Instagram handle, and then I believe that's who they are on Twitter. Also, we follow them, so if you see that we follow them, there you go.
Except this stream.
Yeah, I don't know. So
that slipped through the cracks for sure.
Well, yeah, but oh well, we follow y'all now, and we'll be reposting a lot of that stuff. And so, best of luck to all these 7-on-7 teams. I know Warriors. That's another one out there. Performance. That's another one out there. Didn't get invited. I'm just going to be real. So if some of you athletes are wondering, oh, how come you didn't come here or there or whatever, we go where we're invited. And so that's why we always try to thank all these coaches and whatnot, because, they don't have to invite us out there. There's probably a little bit extra pressure knowing that we're out there, because we're going to talk about performances and we're going to keep it real. I mean, we covered the 2021 season. I mean, shoot, we covered middle school ball, and we were real when, a DJ Bordeaux didn't play as well, or some of these other guys that we know are stars didn't play as well, and that's going to be out there forever. But, it's not hate, it's all love, we want y'all to be better, and we're going to tell it how it is, and that's how this Ducks tryout was. A great first day. Love the coaching staff, love the vibes, I think it's a good deal. And then I just liked hearing some of these kids just getting to know each other, because they're coming from all over the state, and it's not that easy to connect with some of these guys sometimes and whatnot. And so, you take the opportunities you can, and love to see some of these guys really do that, especially the guys that aren't kind of from the Denver metro area, because, you got to take initiative eventually, and so really looking forward to what's ahead for this team, man. I know all the teams, obviously. So yeah, Kodey, is there anything else you want to say here? We're kind of wrapping this thing up here. Definitely a shorter live stream, but obviously they don't have 300 kids come out and try out, which is fine. that works for us as well. But we'll be covering more kids and doing more in-depth film breakdowns here in the future as well. So yeah.
I don't think so. I just want to echo everything you had. Obviously, super grateful to have been invited out there. It was beautiful, by the way. It was a beautiful day and a photogenic day for sure. Colorado showing off that beautiful blue sky and all those days of sunshine that she has. But, other than that, just I'm excited to see the football part. And to all of our viewers, obviously, thank you for viewing our Twitch. If you are catching a recap of this, tune in. I think we're going to try and make this a thing. Tuesdays around like 6 o'clock. Pretty consistent Twitch streams, so that way we can get that Wednesday episode out for y'all as well. But I've been, what do you say hosts on Twitch? Or do you say one of your streamers? Dude,
I mean,
I'm not sure the terminology. I'm not an influencer like Coach V is, so I don't know exactly how it all works.
Okay.
I just run the chat room.
All right, so I've been your co-host with my other co-host here, Kodey Stauffer. I've been your co-host, Simon Villanos, aka Coach V. That's Kodey Stauffer. I tried to throw it to you, but you took too long. I'm sorry. That's how it works. But we'll catch y'all later. Thank you for rocking with us. Hey, quarterbacks, top 5 quarterbacks in the state of Colorado.
This Friday.
There's going to be some controversy. There's only one 5A quarterback there. All right, bye. Have a good one. We'll catch y'all later.